Okay, in this video we're just going to quickly run through how you can set up appointment scheduling in Google Calendar, and this works if you've got a paid Google Workspace account for business or you've just got a free account. There are a few different features that are kind of available and not available, and I'll kind of leave this link in here and you can have a whiz through it and kind of check what's there, but we'll set it up on a free account and you can kind of see like what's available there. So if you come to this page, depending on whether you're doing it on a business account or like a personal account, you might have to fill out like a little survey just on how many people are in your business, or if it's personal you're using it for. And then once you've gone through that little survey, what you'll find is on the Google Calendar page, so the main just calendar.google.com. Again, I'll chuck a link in for this as well, but if you come into create, you'll now realize that you've got this appointment schedule option just below event and tasks. So where you normally add in your events, you've also got this. And if you click on it, it will bring you to this extra menu that's got all these bits in here. So what you've got is essentially the option to name what you want to call your appointments. So you can sort of call it like, maybe on this actually we'll call it 30-minute consultation. So whether you want it to be like an intro call for people, or whether you want to sell your time for like, you know, an hour consultation or something like that. It'd help if I could spell that, consultation. And then you can change your appointment duration. So, you know, you can have anything in there. So we're saying it's a 30-minute consultation, so we can make it 30 minutes, and you can see that's broken it down into all these available kind of times now. And you can see they're between 9 and 5 in the calendar, Monday to Friday. And that's because that's what we've got here. So, you know, if you just do weekends, you can add in the weekends. You can have it set up just for sort of custom days. So say there's like a particular weekend or a particular day where you just want to book in a load of appointments, you can kind of do that. For my one, I tend to have it so it's set up like during a week, like almost 9 to 5. But what you'll find here, you've got hundreds of appointment slots in here, because, you know, you've got sort of 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, all the way through the day. So kind of what I generally do is I would come in and break that up a little bit, so you can have there's different options in here for different things. So you can put in a buffer time. So essentially meetings always tend to overrun unless you're really lucky and they, you know, they sort of always stick to schedule. But I would always put the meeting length buffer in between each meeting. So if your meeting's 30 minutes, add a buffer in of 30 minutes. If your meeting's an hour, stick an hour buffer in there. That's just the way I generally do it. So you can set a maximum of however many bookings per day. So, you know, if you only want to take, say, 4 or 5 bookings a day, you can do that here, and then once it reaches the limit, it will just cut off the rest of the bookings for the day. So you can kind of add that in there if there's a limit you want to take, because you probably don't want to be doing appointments all day. So that's a good option there to have if you want to just kind of limit how many are in there. And I also tend to limit this as well. I don't have it so that the guests can add other people, because it sort of opens you up to a lot of spam and things like that. So I tend to close that down. If people want to add other people to the call, that's something you can kind of, you know, you can kind of arrange. And we've also got things like, if we come up to here, we've got the option to say the kind of maximum time in advance people can do a booking, and the minimum time as well. So, you know, 2 months in advance is like the maximum they can do it. Obviously you can change that. The minimum of 4 hours I always change. You know, I'd prefer if it's like at least 24 hours in advance, and then you've got a good amount of time to kind of plan for that and know that it's happening. So that's generally what I would do. And the other important thing is as well, if your meetings are down for 9 to 5, you've sort of got to factor in the fact that then you will actually be working till 5:30. So what I tend to do is start them at 10, end them at 4. This is for a general 9 to 5, you know, and then that way you've given yourself a bit of buffer to get in the morning, sort everything out, be ready for calls and all the rest of it. And then also your last call is at 4 o'clock, which let's say that runs over half an hour, then it's still going to finish at 5 o'clock, and then you can kind of leave at the time you want to leave. For whatever reason, it's not letting me set that time to 10 o'clock. I don't know why that is. Maybe I need to scroll. There we go. And then, yeah, that sort of puts you in the right window for the timing. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but, you know, for me, I find that works best. If I want to work 9 to 5, having the available time slots between 10 and 4 kind of works best for me. Right, and then once we've got all of that kind of set up, we can jump onto next. And then you can see here, if you want to add a picture for that, you know, like to make it a bit more personalized, you can kind of do that. Location and conferencing, I set this to, I mean, you might want to do it so it's a phone call, or you can have it obviously as an in-person meeting. If you go out and you do appointments, like, you know, going out to meet people at their houses or whatever it may be, or businesses. For me, it's all done on Google Meet. So I do it that way, and then it can add a call for me. And then in this, you can add a bit more description about, you know, this Google Meet call, or if you are meeting them in person, you know, potentially things that they have to have ready, or details about the address, where you can park, all of those types of things. So you've got that there as well as like a little bit of extra. And what's quite useful as well, you've got this bit in here where it's got, they have to enter a first name, a surname, and an email address. And then you actually can add custom things in there. So I've had ones before where it's people wanting to check out products. So you could kind of say, like, you know, enter the products that you want, and then they can show those products to you. Or, like I say, put in things like, you know, what's the kind of parking arrangement for it, or any kind of custom information, any additional details. You can set up a few on there, so you can have, like, if we say phone number on there as well, because that's obviously useful. If you want to meet people in person, you always really need a phone number. And then we could say additional details, or you can have on there address if we say we're going to meet people in person, which in this one we're not, but it's useful for that. And then you can see here you've got things like little automations and reminders, but you'll need to be on a workspace plan for that, so that's a little bit limited, but we can go through and we can do that. And then you can see on here we've got the 30-minute consultation all booked in, and that's how it looks in our calendar. But what we can do is we can open up the booking page, and we'll just open that in a new window. And then this is what it looks like for anyone coming onto here. So like I say, you can dress it up a little bit with your kind of like your photo and all of that kind of stuff. Put in a little description so people kind of know what they're doing, but they can just come in, they can pick an appointment. And what we also had in the editing thing, if you ever want to come back to edit it, you can do this. We also had under here to avoid conflicts. So we've got to check calendars for availability. So when you put something in under this calendar, so you've got your, for me, it's just like my main calendar. If I've got an appointment in there already, like a phone call with somebody, or I've got to go out and do something, that's already in my calendar, and then it knows not to put a booking appointment in there. So sometimes there's little breaks in the appointments where people can't book, but it's because you've got other stuff on. So, you know, you can kind of do that. So anytime you want to, like, you could do, I could show you actually in this. So you could say, like, here, I've got a haircut from 12:30 to whenever, and then we can go back into the appointment schedule. Actually, sorry, we don't want to do that. Let's go back into it. Let's open our booking page, and then you'll be able to see, I might have added that on the wrong day actually. Sorry, let me just go back and change that. That's on Monday. Let me put that in Wednesday because we've set it up so it's a couple of days before. So yeah, you'll see now you've got this break here where you can't have the additional appointment there because it's taken out the 1 o'clock appointment where I've put in that haircut. So you can see that that's not available anymore. So now you've got the appointment calendar with everything kind of there ready to go. And then the next thing you can do is share the calendar. So you can see up here, we've got share. So you can send out a link to people if that's the way you work, and you've got people emailing you who want appointments, and you just send them out. Or if you've got like a website that you kind of send people to, you can do a couple of different things. You can have a pop-up, so they can click book an appointment. It does the kind of like the pop-up, and you can see on here, you can click it to test it. Or you can just have it so it's kind of in line on the page, and I can show you what that looks like on my website. So they come to this page, which is just called book an appointment, and then they come in and they can kind of come in and they can book an appointment through here, and you can kind of see, you just go in, click on the bits, and you've got it there, and you can see there's like the kind of custom fields in there as well, which we set up before. So yeah, when they click on it, you can see on our one we've got phone number, address, and then they can book to sign up. And that's kind of all of it, really. You can go back in, like I say, some of it is a little bit of trial and error. You'll kind of change it as and when you're kind of doing bits, and you'll sort of work out what's right for you in the calendar. And you might want to upgrade to the workspace plan if there are bits that you kind of want within that. But yeah, that's the sort of basics of doing it. So hopefully that's helped. If you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like and please subscribe.